Thanks so much for being in here and watching, guys. We've got 5 teams to go through today. They finished between 1K and 3K last year. We're going to help them get into the top 1K. Simple as that. And obviously push towards 500, top 100, and obviously a chance to win as well. So we do have the Wackos Warriors in here for this one. And I think these are the most important types of videos that I'm putting out. So please stick around. I implore you that will help you this year. So with Wackos Warriors, he did come 2183rd last year. And how we do this, guys, is we go into round 1, because that's the most important thing for now, and we go through some of the picks that were awesome for this player. We know that you want to spend some money in the positions that are fairly safe early on. You want to make sure that you get off to a pretty good start. And we know that the mids, the hooker position, sometimes the edge, and obviously the half can be really, really good as a starter. He did begin with Ponga, Pappenhausen, which worked out pretty solidly as well. Karaz in those, tougher positions. And it was Cam Murray, Cotter, Harry Grant up top. So Harry wasn't perfect, but he then had Zach Hosking as well. So he did miss out on Jamal Fogarty for one of them, but he would have had a solid start, obviously, with Hosking getting things off on the right foot with it for him, getting into 4,300 in round 3, but did push all the way out to 30,000 or just inside that by round 7, and it was a slow climb all the way back to the basically the top 5,000 or inside the top 5,000 by round 19, and held on strong from there. So we're going to look at this first half of the year and see where he can improve very, very easily. So didn't make any trades in round 2, and when we don't start off perfectly well and there's guys to fix up, then trading can be good early, and then didn't use one of the trades in round 4. So you can see there that in this case, saving trades early helped him in the back end, right at the back end there, but he did only use a single trade each of the last sort of 4 rounds there. So that's actually pretty interesting. He didn't go absolutely nuts in all weeks. He only used 4 trades once in round 14. So it seems like a pretty solid season-long trade strategy, which is cool to see as well. But in terms of early trades, Joey Lussick and Blaze Talangi came into the side there, round 3 and 4. Clint Gutherson as well in 5. So sorry for the Joey Lussick and Gutho potential trade-ins, guys. But the 5 people in here, they are part of the private group. So if you're interested in that, all the info is in the description, guys. That's the best way for me to go through your teams and help you out, ready for round 1 and obviously through the year. It's a season-long thing. It's less than $5 a month for the first tier. If you want to be involved in prizes and stuff, it's just a tick under $10 a month, which is absolutely incredible value in my opinion, and I'll show you why it's worth it. I help people do really, really well each and every year. It's been going on for 5 years now, this channel, which is crazy. Got the 5-year anniversary in May, which is wild. But continuing on here, we do have Chevy Stewart as well. So there's a few misses in this side, especially with a couple of cheapies that are outside backs as well. So keep that in mind. On that one, we had Iro comes in, Fogarty just before the injury, and Xavier Wilson as sort of a mid-tier, just outside cash cow range. And I hope that you did enjoy that cash cow video yesterday. We had some really solid trade-ins in the next little period with guys like Trey Fuller. Sean Bloor was pretty solid as well. Armstrong, Hughes, Jaden Bradley was okay. Drinky, Brown, Bateman, although, solid picks, it didn't sort of work out perfectly. So I think if these picks could have been, a little bit more slam dunky at that time, there obviously were picks that were going well at that time, then we could have seen a quicker rise through this period of lull. Because you can't look at any of these trades in this period and go, yeah, bang, 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 like 3, 4, 5 in a row that were really, really good. So you get the, Crichton and Iro in there. You get the Kaipis Paul at a solid time in round 5, but, a little bit late, but not too late. Then you look at Armstrong and a lot of these guns that were just solid without being spectacular. Brought in Britton Nicker at a really good time, so that's where we saw a bit of a surge. Didn't trade in 12, only the 1 in 13. And then in 14, things started to go a little bit better for him. You can see here round 12 was in 20,000, improved in round 13, same in 14, and then had that big jump in round 16. So that's where some improvement does come along there as well. Trading in guys like Max Plath, Stephen Davy Moali had a pretty solid run. Api Coruscant at 572. He did have a couple of decent little games there to get him to 623. But that round 14 trade-ins, guys like Campbell, guys like Garrick are pretty solid. Fafita a bit expensive, but did have a few games before falling off at the end of the year. And Fainu at 479. So overall a pretty solid setup and didn't go nuts with all these trades and was able to leave a few for the back end, which allowed him to pick up certain guys like Cam Murray, like Isaiah Yeo for the last couple of rounds, like Cam Murray for that couple of good games that he had there, Pat Carrigan for a good run at the end of the year, and obviously Cleary and McLean. So Tom Starling in round 20. These are really, really good trades and helped him into that really good position. So thanks for the Wackos Warriors for that one. We move on to slop selection at 1,727. So a really, really solid season. And I know this coach wants to get in the top 1K this year. Looking into their round 1 side and their setup, they did have Morgan Smithies and McInnes as decent ones to start, but Brandon Smith and Totola, mid-range guys that didn't work out. Obviously, Wong Pikura, we know that. But Fogarty was awesome for this side. He had Ruben Cotter as well. And started with Turbo, who was really solid. Rapana had another mid-range guy that I did start with, as well as Smithies, that started okay, but not super spectacular as they got injured eventually. Had Karaz, had Galvin, so plenty of good things in this round 1 side, and you can see why that pushed him into a really, really good slot. And this is poor Josh, who I was speaking to. I think he said he got to rank 1. Yeah, rank 1 by round 10. So obviously had a solid start in the 20,000, which is better than most, but came into round 3 sitting in 639th spot and in the top 100 by round 4, and didn't leave that, unfortunately, until around 22 was when he left the top 100 and then lost plenty from there. So this is a really, really cool team to go through, and that round 1 team had some good wins in it for sure, which was nice to see with those mid-range guys in Hosking, in Karaz, in Cotter. 3 guys there that helped him out tremendously and did a good job. But you're looking here at trade outs of Wong and Lukey in round 3. Didn't actually trade in round 2. So end up with May and Finafiaki, who are 2 good trade-ins at that point, and showed that holding a few of these guys, even Totola, he did make a tiny bit of cash on him to get to 502, or sort of hold steady. I think he was somewhere around that 490 or something to start. But was able to hold McInnes through that tough one to begin and get a couple of decent ones before selling in round 5. To jump on guys like Dylan Brown and Sean Bloor, who were fairly cheap compared to what value they could provide. He grabbed Pat Carrigan really early when Haas went down. So these first 6 trades there, and then even Ponga in 6, obviously a little bit unlucky not long after he did get injured, but it was a good trade in at 738. Chevy Stewart at 230 was his first poor trade. Before it was Crichton, Iro, Hines, Fuller, Brayley the week before he gained another 30k. And then it was Jolliffe in a solid, I think he got pretty unlucky with Jolliffe a few weeks later. Yeah, had 1 or 2 good weeks with Jolliffe. But Garrick at 547, Sam Walker at 557, Tedesco at 576. And then, starts to have some not so good trades in there. But that first lot of trades is some of the best trading you'll see. And just refuse to make a mistake apart from a 230k Chevy Stewart, which isn't going to ruin your chances of winning this league. What ruined his chances of winning this league was these trades here through the middle. And guys like Sorensen, who'd been carrying injuries, Reed Marnie maybe a little bit late, knowing that he does fall off a bit. He had Kohler, was unlucky with that one, moving to fullback and struggling. KO Weeks was good. Went for DeBellin at a pretty expensive price when he wasn't in that sort of 70-plus minute role that we had him in previous years, taking punts on guys like Stefano, Alex Seyfarth when he didn't have the position locked in for too long, when you still got, Papali'i there to muck around with. Latrell Mitchell was a good one to grab at that time. You had Wyden, Aiken a little bit unlucky with the injury at that point. So things were going really, really well. And then it was selecting guys that got suspended in Olakuatu. Max Plath at a pretty solid time. Will Kennedy. So just the wheels kind of fell off a little bit with the quality of trading that we saw here with Josh. And that pushed him to... he was able to hold strong for a fairly long time in that top 100 before falling away, and was a pretty tough one to finish off the year with that. With still some good trades in there with Ponga, with Cleary, with McLean, bringing in Campbell, these types of guys, but got it a bit rough with guys like Payne Haas, Watson, Sipley, these types of guys at the end. Got Starling pretty cheap there as well. So yeah, incredible trading, and then okay and average trading to finish. Shows that you can fall from grace, unfortunately, at that first spot. But I think I've only been in first spot in 1 season during a round, and that was really cool to see. And I was kind of hanging between that first and 100th for that entire season. And obviously a couple of years ago, finished 101st for those that are new to the channel, let me know in the comments, guys, if you are new here, if it's your first or second year. Thanks so much for being here. And this kind of stuff is going to improve the way you play very, very much. 1248 for Mr. Lockie Smith. We have 2 Lockie Smiths in the private group now, and it's great. We've got Smythe and Smith, that's how I call it. But round 1 for Lockie. Let's see if we can project where he ended up early rounds. But Harry Grant, along with Haas and Cotter. Fogarty was in there, which was good. Didn't have Hosking. Had Taylor May from round 1, so fair play on that one. He scored well in that one. Had Tommy Turbo. Had Joey Manu, so that Joey Manu play was hectic. So I reckon we were pretty solid here first round. Yeah, first round was 10,000. And then we dropped away, unfortunately, outside the top 30,000 round 6, up to 11,000, back to 19,000 before making the climb each and every week, basically, apart from a couple of zigzags through the back 10 rounds of the season. So with Lachlan, I think there'll be some easy things that we can have a quick look at. So when we look at his trading across the year, it doesn't seem too crazy, but he does have 2 4-trade spots and seems to be trading each and every week there throughout the season. So he has the trade bug, we know that, and then managed to hold off in 22 and 23. But let's look at some early trades for him in that season. And Terrell May, Lockie Galvin early was good. Nico Hines early as well. Isaiah Yeo early. Whew, beautiful. And Finafiaki. We had Liam Henry got injured that week with the head knock, so that was a tough timing. And Blaze Talangi, so round 5 really stalled him. Round 6 with Campbell and Wilson was good. He had Jolliffe, Crichton, Iro in round 7, so that was hectic. And when you're looking at that then, they are some really, really good trades. Bring them in round 7, pushed him up, obviously, then over the next few weeks, was still 13 and 11K. So I'd have to ask Lockie on this one, with those trades that he ended up making in, I think he must have been missing out on some looping and different things like that. So I'll have to ask him on that one, because I reckon that might have been the case. You look at his trade outs, and they all seem correct there. Even the 2 trade-ins that Talangi and Henry weren't good, but Chan and Gagai leaving the side was sweet. You had May and Henry leaving in 6. None of these trades are bad at all, apart from that first one with Cotter, because he didn't actually get him back. So that was frustrating on that one. Obviously, Campbell coming in at 480 at that time. He did have that injury. He did end up trading him out through that period. So some of these guys were great to get in, but depending on how they went that next week or something, how that changed the way you perceive them. And if they had a little bit of an injury and were out for a week or 2, and then they eventually come back, and he moved into that 6th spot, which was really helpful. And he did bring him back in round 16 at 559. So ended up working out well for him in that standpoint there. But trading out some of the good guys like Cotter, it made sense to get Terrell, but probably finding another way was the best one. I have seen other guys that traded Cotter out and then brought him back the next week. So there's other ways to do it as well. 2K24 we have in this one. This was a fun team to look at as well. 1993 was the overall rank, and started pretty well. First 2 rounds, pretty normal, around that 50K mark, and then pushed quickly into the top 7K, 3K, and then really improved all the way until semi-close to a peak around 14 and 15 in that sort of 300 to 400 range, and then kind of just slowly fell away at the end, which was not too dissimilar to how I went. I was kind of building from this sort of rounds 5, 6, 7, build all the way to that point in around 20 or so, and then fell away a little bit in the last few rounds. But in this side, you are looking at a starting team of Murray, Smithies, Smith, Totola. Again, nothing special there so far. Dean Mariner was a bit of a cheeky pick. He had Ponga to start. He had Karaz. He had Cotter. So those ones are good, but it actually wasn't a perfect round 1 team. And I imagine we'll see some very good trades early on, just based on looking at how that round 1 setup was. And remember, guys, you don't have to be perfect in round 1. It's how you make moves following that. And Terrell May and Galvin, then Karpis Paul and Trebojevic, Dylan Brown at a good price, missing out on Talangi. Hines and Caliro was awesome. Bringing Grant around 7, a bit cheaper. Crichton, Chester was a bit unlucky. Tohu Harris was unlucky. Gray was awesome, but he did trade him out a few weeks after that. So if he was to be held throughout the year, would have had a great time at the back end. Fuller was great, a bit unlucky with Bateman, Brayley. David Wiley, Armstrong, and Drinkwater, pretty solid through that. So yeah, some pretty decent trade-ins there. On the outside, we have Jacob Karaz leaving in round 5 is tough. All the other ones there look pretty good. Obviously, Keeney would have been nice to hold, but it wasn't the case. Murray left the side along with Totola and Danny Levi, so that was a big winning trade move for him in round 7. Kept him going in the right direction overall. So yeah, I think that's fine. In terms of where he used his trades, he wasn't able to use many trades through 16, 17, 18, and 19, and then went bang bang 20 and 21. Obviously had some things to fix up on the side, and a lot of that can be attributed to using 3 trades in 7, 9, 10, 11, and 12 before going 4 in 14. So when you do trade most weeks, you didn't trade actually round 2, but when you trade most weeks and you go heavy in 2 and 3 and then in 4, it can really stuff you up with the amount of trades you got left for that sort of middle to back end. And from 16 onwards, that's when it started going a little bit downhill. So yeah, there's 2 sides to it. Obviously using trades to get to a really good position, but you do have to have a plan that you can't overload yourself with using too many trades, and could have saved a couple there on not great picks, and then had a couple more to kind of steady the ship there and potentially stay in that top 1K. So pretty interesting, that one. And to finish off, we have 1,020 here for Mr. Brad, and he did use 1 trade in each of the first 2 rounds there. Let's have a look at that round 1 side. But firstly, the rankings, and he stayed pretty well up top for the majority of the season. So got there in round 6. He moved into, basically top 1,000, and then hung there for the entirety of the time. And if you're looking at the trading clumps, we've got 7, 8, 9 with triple trading along with 11. And then same in 13, a 4 in 14, which a lot of people seem to have done. And then he could only use 1s and 2s all the way until we got that extra 8 trades. And he went triple, triple, single to finish, and that's where he did end up losing a couple at the end. He pushed himself to 627 and then fell just outside the top 1,000. So I think being aware of clumping trades together, and unless you know that they're sort of slam dunky, and a bunch of these never feel that way. Like even looking at this Plath, Hines, and Walsh one, that looks a lot closer to slam dunk type of trades than what the next one does. Of Jolliffe, who had made a fair bit of his cash. Garrick, I think, is a good trade at that time period. And then Jaden Brayley was never a slam dunk, but 490, he had the opportunity to keep that starting spot, and it just never happened. So I think that Plath, Hines, Walsh one was probably the closest to that you could. He did decide to cycle some cheapies in round 7, and Iro was the only one there that really stood out as a gun pick, whereas Willison looked like it'd be solid without being spectacular, and same with Chester. Looked like it'd be okay and probably make a bit of cash. But him at centre was never the right slam dunk type of play. And same with Johnson. Buying Johnson at 8.14 in round 6 compared to having him fairly early on in like around 3 or 4. It's very expensive to pay for someone like that. Obviously he got injured, but 8.14, he has to push into the 60s on a regular basis. So just thought those kind of things were pretty interesting for him. I thought he made the right trade outs for that first 6-7 rounds easily. 7 rounds definitely. 8, obviously you've got Fogarty injury. I think Ponga got injured a similar time, similar to Cam Murray. So those were kind of forced, and I think that's where that one worked as gun players. And then from there, Terrell May went to Jolliffe, and it was like, well, that was that weird time for May, but Jolliffe was getting more expensive. If you got him at 600, it's fine, but near 700, a bit scary. Tom Chester had to go. Finifiaki, yeah, like they were fine. I think on paper, they're upgrades, Chester and Finn to Garrick and Brayley, but just things to think about with your sides. And I think we'll leave it there, guys. That was, I went through his in the private group, top 10 to slightly outside that document. So this is 1 to 3K. If you want to see the top 10, I'd break them down in, top 3 is a 45 to 50 minute video. Same with 4 to 6. Same for 7 to 10. We had 2 guys that hit the top 10 last year in our private group, 8th and 9th in Bevan and Hayden. So that was hectic. We had 21st with Mitch, who you're seeing on the channel now, 26th with Richard as well. So we had a cracking year from the private group standpoint, and I do fully expect that we can get close to winning it this year from one of our guys in the group. So if you are interested in that, jump in the description, guys. There's prizes, there's help from me, help from everyone else that are really, really good at this game. And we just have such a fun year in the group chat with no trolls, no idiots out there. It's just a great time. And anyone that is an idiot, they get kicked out. So we're trying to keep it really insular and make it a really, really fun year for everyone involved. And, more than half the people each of the last 2 years have come back. So somewhat 60, 70% guaranteeing that you'll outside of getting too busy or something, you'll want to come back the next year. So thanks so much, guys, and we'll catch you in the next video, and I hope you're enjoying the trials.